I kinda stopped watching the 2016 Powerpuff Girls ever since Fashion Forward. I tried to watch the episode with the garden, but 2 or 3 minutes in, I walked away. I just couldn't stand anymore. I'm actually not surprised. I've noticed that it's becoming harder and harder for me to watch this show. I don't know if it's because the show is getting progressively worse as the episodes go by, or I'm just losing my patience as the days goes by. But I still deep down, deep beneath my hatred for this show, I still want it to be better. So you know what? I'm gonna list the four main reasons why this show sucks. Number one, the show does not do its homework. This is the least of my problems with this show, especially since the show is only partially trying to be like the original Powerpuff Girls. There are several stinkers this show could have avoided if they had just watched and paid attention to the original Powerpuff Girls, like the computer joke in the Amoeba Boys and Virus Spirals, the endless injuries and moments of weakness the Powerpuff Girls have, even though they are physically strong as heck, Mojo Jojo's unique way of speaking, and the biggest, Miss Bellum's departure. The show wrote off Miss Bellum and she's scheduled to never appear in the show. Why? The showrunners felt she was sexist. Miss Bellum sexist. This smart, clever, funny, and helpful character is sexist. You do know she once literally saved the day.
Once again, the day is saved thanks to Miss Bellum and the Powerpuff Girls.
I have a theory for why this happened. Actually, it's obviously factual. They just took a look at her body and made their own assumptions. Fun fact, there's a Powerpuff Girls comic book that resembles the story found in Bye Bye Bellum. You know what's the difference? Miss Bellum actually comes back. If the showrunners had just watched and analyzed Miss Bellum's character, they would probably understand her role better. I mean, who's going to make those scenes with the mayor funny now?
Blah! This job definitely doesn't pay enough.
That's right. No one. Another stinker they made was giving less focus to the villains and more to the girls, which is strange. Like, they don't understand what made the original so special, was that they gave more focus on the villains, and you know what? It was freaking worth it. In this version, they are more concerned with the girls. One of the main goals was to develop the three main girls, which brings me up to another problem. Number two, the girls. I hope someone from the staff of the 2016 Powerpuff Girls is watching this and taking notes, because this is a big problem. Now, the girls in the original show were a little too simplistic as characters. That never actually bothered me, especially since the focus of the story were really on them, but the showrunners of the 2016 version thought this was a problem that needed to be fixed, and let's just say they made it worse. The thing about the showrunners giving more character to the girls is that they didn't really give them more characters. They just turned the main girls into the most exaggerated versions of themselves. I don't think that's how character development works. Look, I get what they were going for. They intended to overcorrect the simplicity of the girls. But if you want to give them more characters, you should give them more traits, more quirks, and more challenges. By exaggerating their personalities, all you do is transform them into stereotypes or parodies of themselves. I don't even recognize the girls in this version, although that also has to do with the voice. Blossom became a nerd in this series. She was pretty smart in the original, but she's a full nerd. Not that I have a problem with nerd characters, but it's hard not to compare with the original Blossom. Plus, the show doesn't shut up about how she's a nerd and that she's orderly and germophobic. One other thing that bothers me about her is her voice. No one seems to be bothered by her voice. Everyone likes to attack Buttercup's voice, but I also have a problem with her voice. Her voice is too tweeny. In the original, Blossom had a voice of a leader. In this version, she has a voice of an administrator of a group chat in a social media.
Absolute worst. We made dioramas in geography class and it worked really hard and oh, like she literally can't even.
It's too 12-year-old like. Okay, I know she's in those ages in this version, but it bothers me and it takes away the commanding feel she had in the original. Buttercup, where to begin? Her voice is freaking distracting. The voice actor tries way too hard to sound like a boy, although her character also feels like she's trying way too hard to look like a boy. Man, she's way too boyish to the point where I even compared her to the Radioactive boys. No, she's not worse. No one tops the Radioactive boys at being ridiculously boyish. Buttercup lost her rage a little. She still has a few moments where she gets angry, although everyone gets angry here. Plus, the show focuses more on making her throw a few quips, one liners, and sarcastic jokes. It's annoying, by the way. Another thing that bothers me about her is how she's an unredeemable jerk. She could spend an entire episode being a jerk, sometimes learn her lessons, sometimes, and then do almost the exact same mistakes in later episodes. Not that she wasn't a jerk in the original, but here she's just way worse. Bubbles was the least damaged character. She, for the most part, acts like the old Bubbles, although sometimes she can be unrecognizable. Her voice is fine, although I still prefer Tara Strong's voice by miles. She's less badass than the original Bubbles. Here, she's just cute and adorable, not cute, adorable, and kick ass like the original Bubbles. That's the thing. She's just less of the original Bubbles. Although there is one thing she's more than the original Bubbles, her love of memes and trendy stuffs.
Yes!
Oh boy, those moments revolt me. Again, I don't have a problem with characters who like memes and trendy stuff, but it's just not the Bubbles I know. Also, the jokes and plots related to trends and memes and internet stuff are ridiculous. Unless you're making fun of it, it's just silly that you would add that into an episode of a cartoon people will probably see in the future, but will most likely not enjoy or respect it because it's going to be dated. Even now, I don't respect it. Another thing you will notice about the girls is that they're crappy heroes. They're now only weaker than the original Powerpuff Girls, but they care less about saving the day, much like the writers. They don't really worry about the girl saving the day, the save the day story, any more than they worry about their personal lives. I miss seeing monsters getting beat up, which reminds me of another problem with this show. Number 3, the style. When I mean the style, I mean the designs, animation, and their style of storytelling and comedy. They kept the design to the 3 main girls, which I guess they had to. For a show that was only created to sell merchandise, it's logical that they would maintain the modules of the girls to attract the fans of the original. However, they changed the designs of the other characters. Most of them look like characters from Clarence or Rebel Bears, and it's way too noticeable. I can never buy that the girls live in the same universe as the rest of the characters. Also, the professor's design, like, what the heck? The animation looks okay mostly, nothing bad, but nothing amazing. However, the fight scenes are the weak points in terms of animation. I don't know. They just don't know how to animate fight scenes to the point where they don't even bother having fight scenes anymore. If you're going to reboot a series that was partially an action cartoon, don't you think you would have to hire a crew of talented fight scene animators? There's another thing about the animation I don't like. Sometimes when the girls want to express certain emotions, their face changes, especially their eyes. I really don't like when that happens. Look, not that I don't like when animated characters make over the top cartoonish faces, but for me to enjoy that, 2 things are required. One, the show needs to be surreal enough to make those moments not feel too weird. Two, the show needs to be at least partially slapstick comedy. The 2016 Powerpuff Girls is definitely not even in the slightest a slapstick comedy, and it's not surreal enough. I mean, the show is weird, just not weird enough. Their style of storytelling, well, I mentioned before, it focuses more on the girls, their personal lives. The stories tend to be predictable sometimes because the episodes are ripoffs of other plots from other shows. Other times it's because, well, simply because the stories are easy to follow. Their style of humor is questionable. I don't think the show has like a defined style of humor, but the comedy here is mostly fine, except when it relies on showing off the girls' exaggerated personalities. I like character based humor, but when I don't like the characters, I'm not going to laugh. Now it's time for me to talk about the biggest problem with this show. Number 4, It contradicts everything the original show stood for. Even if I could somehow forgive those other problems, I could never forgive this show for this. Look at the original show and then look at this reboot. The original Powerpuff Girls was clearly inspired. The creator and the writers didn't care about what other people thought of it. They weren't trying to impress or to target a certain group of people. They were just trying to create something they felt was funny and enjoyable. And you know what? It was. This reboot is the exact opposite. First of all, this reboot only exists because Cartoon Network wanted to win a quick buck with merchandise. The creator of the original Powerpuff Girls only expected t-shirts of his show. He was even afraid and concerned at how his show got big. But this reboot's existence is a result of greed. Unlike the original show, this show was piece by piece orchestrated to pander to target groups. It's trying to pander to the children of this generation, the fans of the original show, and to mostly the girls, with the rainbows, the unicorns, the memes, and the obvious promotion of girl power, even though they kind of suck at it. The original Powerpuff Girls wasn't even trying to promote girl power, it was just trying to be its own thing. The Powerpuff Girls only became feminist icons because the people chose to see them as feminist icons. This reboot is trying way too hard to pander to those people. They even removed Miss Bellum's character and Miss King's breasts. They're just removing what could possibly become a threat to them, like a soulless company. And the whole feminism thing and the attempt at hitting our nostalgia doesn't even feel like decisions made out of passion. Otherwise, it wouldn't feel as ridiculous and soulless as this. All of this feels like they're trying to keep the show steady enough to go on for years as they are winning money while that happens. That is just Cartoon Network showing no respect to the original show, to the creator of the original show, Craig McCracken. He wasn't even brought up to be a part of the show, although he was against it, and I don't really blame him. Remember how Craig McCracken decided to end the original show in season 6? Because they wanted to end the show while it was still good. And Cartoon Network just reopens the show to sell merchandise and to capitalize on our nostalgia. Does this reboot even sound like the original? No. If you really want to know why this reboot receives so much hate, why it's rated 3.6 on IMDb, this is why. It's not a technical issue, it's an ideological issue. Both shows stand for completely different things, and while I respect what the original show stood for, I will never respect what this reboot stands for. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Bye for now.